Hey there, welcome to lesson 8 of the course. As we said before, we're going to give color to our project using KeyShot. We have done the divisions of the parts in Cinema 4D. Each different element has a different material, as we've seen in the previous lessons, right? And now we can either create a subdivision out of the shark we have here or not. It's up to you. I've exported two versions as FBX file. One of them has the shark as in low poly, and the other one has the fin more curved. That's up to you, as I said. Okay, now let's move on to another subject. I'm going to show you what I used to create my own color palette. If you type colors.co, you'll find this color scheme generator. If you go to generate, then you'll be able to create some nice color palettes. It is the site which chooses randomly the colors, but we can modify them to change to the colors we are interested in. On the top right corner, you can find the settings menu. Play around with the program. As you see, it's very straightforward. If you deselect the isolation mode, the line between the colors will disappear, for example, so there are different options. The monochromatic option will show the colors in a monochromatic way. Then with each color, you can click on an alternative shades and see the different palettes within a color. It's very interesting. From up here, if you click on Toggle Alternative Shades, you'll be able to get the same result, but with all colors at the same time. That way, when we choose our color palette, we also have different shades or gradients of each color, multiplying our options when working in KeyShot. Okay, the next option, Colorblindness, shows us different kinds of mode colors. If you play around with them, you'll see how they change. When you finish with this, go to Adjust Palette, where you can modify the saturation, the brightness, or the temperature to make them warm or cold. See, so for example, I can choose warm colors or cold colors. That's up to you. Okay, when you're happy with it, you can export it. But imagine you don't like this kind of purple, so you can drag it to another place or adjust the settings and change the color. For example, I'm going to choose a greener color because I think it's missing here. Okay, so I select this one and this one too. If I want to change the saturation of the blue, I can do it, okay? When you're done with the changes, then select Toggle Alternative Shades to have a gradient of the selected colors, and then go to Export Palette, choose PNG, and save image as. You can also use the Snipping Tool found in Windows 10 and take a screenshot of the area you want. I use a lot this option. I think it's easier for me. For example, I want to select this area, so I made a screenshot. Well, after all, this site is great to have a range of different color palettes and decide which one we are going to use later in KeyShot. You can see now some palettes that I've created, and I'll upload them to the course so that you can choose which one you want. Now we're going to work with one of these, okay? Okay, the next thing we're going to do is open KeyShot. If you don't have it already, you can download a commercial trial to use it. KeyShot is a rendering software. It's really fast. The animation we get when using this program is instantaneous, in real time. It displays images instantly as we are working. What else can we say about KeyShot? Okay, we've used it already in tutorials and courses. It's very intuitive and very easy to use. As I said, download a commercial trial and let's dive in. Open the program, go to File, click on Import, and choose the file we've created in Cinema 4D. I'll choose the second version as it has more geometrical shark on it. Open and import it. And automatically we have the open scene with the materials we chose in Cinema 4D. See? Great. That's it. As you can notice, the image is moving at the same time I move the camera. That's why I say it's very fast. The program is changing everything in real time. It's one of the advantages. We can modify what we want and see if we like it or not. We can also pause real-time render and the image will be frozen. Well, as I said, KeyShot is very intuitive and easy software, although we are not going to deepen too much. We'll just use it to display our image, but we'll see the interface briefly. On the left side, we have different resources like the Materials tab, where you have the saved materials in your library, such as metal, plastic, paint, stone, wood. Okay, then we have the Colors tab, a kind of Pantone, where we have different colors. We also have the Environments tab, where the lights take place. The environment is everything that surrounds the scene. If we change the environment and we set this one, for instance, the lighting changes as we have two lights panel in this one. Then press Ctrl Z to undo, okay? Okay. We also have the Backplates tab, although we are not going to use it this time, but it's for changing the background. Another tab is the Texture tab. We won't use it either, but that gives texture to the materials. And then the Favorites tab. On the right side, we have these attribute modifiers, that is the project window. First of all, we find the Scene tab outlined in a hierarchy tree where we have the scene parts. Cinema 4D camera, KeyShot camera. We also have the elements that compound the scene as we have in Cinema 4D. Down here we have the materials. Every object is made from a different material. This tree, for example, has its material, this one. If you double click on it, you can know the material. And here we have the environment settings. We're going to make it brightness. It affects the whole image, as you can see, right? We can also change the environment size, the contrast, the rotation. Obviously, if we change the rotation, the lighting points and shadows will change as well. In this next section, we can change the background color. We won't be able to notice from here because it's facing down, but if we change the viewpoint and select the color option, we'll see the changes. See? Here, instead of a tone, we can select a color, okay? That's it. So we can keep modifying the settings, like the ground shadows. We are not going to select these options because we won't have ground. Instead, we are going to work with this cube acting like the sea. The next step would be the lighting one, where we have the lighting presets. We'll cover this later on. And then we find a camera tab and the image tab where you can set the resolution of the scene. But don't worry, because that's not the actual size, it's only a preview. Great. What we are going to do now is, first of all, is to choose a color palette. Okay, select the one we just created. This one, okay. And we are going to take it to Photoshop. And now we can work with both of them actually. Now open KeyShot and go to Material and click on Paint. And here in Paint, if we scroll a little bit, we find matte colors. Now from this one to that one, these are the materials we are going to use for our colors. So, what are we going to do? As you know, we've worked previously in Cinema 4D, making a difference between the materials of each element. So now it's going to be easier for us to work with it. For example, if we want to change the sea, simply pick a material like this blue and place it over here. Automatically, it changed the ocean color, but as you can see, only the ocean area. The color is also added to the material tab over here. And if we double click here, we have the properties that are color, roughness, and refraction of the color. If we bring down the roughness, we get a brighter look, less matte. So, the more roughness, the more matte the material gets. Okay? So, we are going to see all the changes right here. For example, if we increase the refraction, it will become brighter. So, the less roughness, the brighter as well. I think that the most difficult material would be the sea. So we are not going to change these settings too much for the moment, but we are going to change the color. So we have this panel to modify the colors, but let's go first to Photoshop and get a sample of the color we want to use. To do it, we are going to use the eyedropper tool. Click on the color you want, and so here's the eyedropper. So we are going to click on the color we want to use and open the color selector menu. Now you'll need to write down the RGB numbers so that you can find in this window, which are 142, 245, and 252. If you have two screens, it will be easier to work as you can have Photoshop open at the same time. So this is how we are going to work. So in my case, I'm going to use these two screens instead of writing the numbers down because I have them. But in your case, you can write them down. So let's go back to KeyShot again and write the color codes we got from Photoshop. Which are 142, okay, 245, and 252. Then hit OK. Great, so you can see now we have the same color we chose in Photoshop for our sea. So that will be the process. So we are going to choose the material, go to Photoshop, select the color, and then copy the code in KeyShot. Let's do another example. Okay, the wooden color of the pier, for example. Everything that is wooden is going to change. So go to now we are going to Photoshop, okay, and choose the color you like for these areas. For example, this one. That's it. Then copy the code, go to KeyShot again, double click on the material and do the same again. It is copy the code 253, 213 and 197. Hit OK and you will see the changes. Perfect. So we'll be changing the color now, taking the color palette as a reference, and later on we're going to cover the lights or other materials like the sea. Okay? So first this step and then we start working with materials and so on. Let's change the sand color right now. Bring any of the matte materials and take it to the sand. If you can't find any proper yellow for the sand in our palette, let's say we can't find a proper yellow for the sand in our palette, what can we do? Well, we just have to select any tone, any hue, like this one for example, and then go to the color selector window and change this modifier a little bit and take it to the yellow part. It's important not to move the selector pointer because that way our color scale won't change and will follow the same chromatic palette. Okay? As always, save these numbers and copy them in KeyShot. Double click and change the code. Okay? 252, 235 and 167. That's why it's not necessary to have all the colors in our palette. Simply following the steps I've told you, just need to choose a tone and change the color that you need without changing the pointer to follow or to keep the same color palette. For example, let's do the trees. Double click and choose a green color from our palette. This time it's easier because we have green in our palette. This one, for example, would be nice. So copy the code and take it to KeyShot. This time the code is 88, 184 and 164. Fine. Okay, we're going to do the same for every element in our island. It is. We're going to change the color and then find the right color, the color we are looking for, in case it's not in the color palette. And then here we change the tone to the one we are looking for. So basically we need to change the stones to a gray color, the boat as well, which is going to have a similar color as the wood dark, as the wood pure. And the house is going to be white and the roof will have a brighter color, like this one, for example. Yes. Okay, let's do the roof. I think it will be the same as the flag. Well, maybe not the same, but similar. Let's select this blue and change it for this one, for example. As I said, select a color, copy the code, 24879 135. Great. We could also grab this material and place it over the elements that we want, like the flag. But in this case, the more variety in the colors, the better. Well, let's continue with the boat. This one, this tiny little boat. We're going to try with this one. Select it. And then go to KeyShot. Place the material, double click and write the code. 184, 124 and again 124. So you see, the only element that we need to change really is the C. The other materials are just materials that we take from this part, the paint matte materials, and then we place them over the elements. Everything else is just as easy as this. Let's say there are two different materials in one element, for example with the tree or the little window in the house. In this case, it's easy to change only one part because we've worked with this before in Cinema 4D. For example, if we set the window in yellow, it will only affect the window. It will only be changed the area we selected in Cinema previously. Again, here we have to add a different tone and change it to yellow in the color selector window. So select the tone you want and then go back to KeyShot, double click on the material and copy the code. 251, 239 and 174. Great. Keep changing the colors of your scene with your palette, and in the next video we'll have all the materials well placed in KeyShot with the right colors and ready to finish working with the sea and the latest scene, which is very important. So guys, keep adding the materials and see you in the next lesson.